Hi, this is the underachiever speaking, and today I have two things I want to talk about. First one is, believe it or not, with 317 followers currently, I got my first payment as a YouTuber, and it did not came from YouTube itself. It was a member of our community here that offered to donate and asked me for my PayPal and sent me emails and is actually going to hire me in a couple of months when they finish what they're doing now, the project that they're running right now. They are going to contact me again, and even more incredible, it's something related to this, nature. It's something related to what I dedicated my life to study about. And it amazes me and makes me really happy, so thank you very much. I had another job offer too, to be a guide for someone that also follows our channel. I look kind of crazy doing all these hand signs and all in here, but it's just because it's full of mosquitoes and the spring season is on, so it's gonna get rainy in here maybe by the end of the afternoon, and mosquitoes are going crazy. And what I've noticed is that if I stick to the main purpose of this channel, things are gonna go great. I mean, I can feel it already because it already touched someone. My ramblings were not in vain, and I really do hope that this will multiplicate and become much bigger than I can even anticipate now. So the other guy that I was speaking that also tried to hire me, he wanted a guide for Rio, but I don't live there. I live in Brasilia, which is the capital of the country. But I gave him the contacts for friends that I have in Rio that could be much more helpful because they lived in there their whole lives. Anyway, an interesting friendship also was established because of this. Moving on to the second thing I have to talk about. And this guy, he's a jeweler slash gold silver trader, right? And he knows a lot of geology. He's Tracks NYC. Yeah, I saw him in a shorts the other day asking someone that was interviewing him in a podcast. So the question was, what is more valuable, diamonds or wood? And then obviously the guy took the easy way and answered diamonds, just like trying to guess. I'm not crazy. There are mosquitoes trying to enter inside of my ears, so I gotta ward them off like a crazy person here. But anyway, yeah, and the guy fell for the easy answer and replied diamonds, which made him completely wrong. Because yes, diamonds and gold are available all over the universe. Stars explode, stars are born, planets are born every day, and diamonds and gold, silver, all the elements, they're very much abundant all over the universe. We just can't reach them quite yet, right? And wood, the only place we know so far, we only have proof that wood exists in one place in the whole galaxy, one place in the whole goddamn universe. It only exists here on Earth. Isn't that amazing how our perception is warped sometimes? Because wood depends on life. I agree with Tracks NYC, because people have to learn how to value things right, and those are his words, right? You have to learn how to value things right. And that reignited this flame inside of me, that, whoa, damn, I didn't expect a person like him. Because it does seem superficial, but it might be this character that he puts up front for social media purposes, right? That's what calls people's attention, right? What he does. And I realized that on the inside, during an interview, his mind goes deeper. He knows a lot of geology. It's perceptible because he knows gems and gold and silver, all this stuff, right? And I think by osmosis, he learned a lot about nature too, and about the environment and about forests and so on, because the kind of resource he's always chasing is present in nature as well, right? Minerals are usually underground, right? So this made me think that maybe in my wildest dreams I could achieve something like convince these people that have a conscience about this, and I don't know, found a company that buys land. Maybe we could start here in Brazil, buys land to protect it. Oh, and this can be profitable too. I'm not talking about only altruism here. Behold, I'm not talking about pure altruism here. It can be profitable. Only 1% of the Brazilian territory, agricultural territory, is filled with planted forests. So think about teak wood. Eucalyptus doesn't pay. Teak wood and African mahogany, and taking like 10% of that land to make it agriculturable, or 20%, you know, doing the contrary, because you have, by law, you have to reserve 20% of any property for it's a legal reservation, right? You especially if you have water, a water stream going about your property, you have to allow the woods around it to be intact, you know, as intact as they can be. But if you do the exact opposite, you'll have a lot of land protected, land like this that needs to be protected, close to national parks, for example, and it can also be profitable. I could be the responsible technician for all this effort, right? Because I have the diploma for it, and it would be amazing. Now just imagine an ideal world where people that care about nature actually care about nature. Do they actually care about nature? I wonder. And those episodes, those small flashes that I see from social media, that some of these people are just doing a character and inside they're much deeper, you know, that actually made me think a lot about this being possible. And you know, because of the reasons exposed in the first thing in the first topic I talked about, it makes me, I don't know, it makes me confident to think about to dream big again, you know, because I surely didn't expect to be paid before I could reach monetization within YouTube, right? And a job offer in my field. And it's crazy for me because it made me regain a little bit of a confidence that was kind of latent inside of me, and now I feel like dreaming big again. Imagine people like Trex NYC believing in a stranger that is making lame videos in the internet about nature and about forests and about preservation and about this and about that, and gathering more people and putting this company up and doing compensation, because you know, digging up minerals is very taxating on earth, you know. Digging gold, digging diamonds and emeralds and all of those goodies, it's very taxating to the environment they're being extracted from. And I know that I said the magic words profit, right? Yes, it can be profitable too, while you do, you know, preservation effort, while you're doing a conservation effort. Those are two words. There is a difference between them. Tell me in the comments. Research it. Tell me in the comments what is the difference between preservation and conservation. Right, that's your homework. But anyway, imagine this ideal world where dreams come true, and I could finally get some investors to make this dream come true. This company that buys land, we could start in Brazil, and then it could expand to the whole world. We could buy land everywhere that needs, you know, some protection, everywhere that needs hands that actually care. Most of Brazil's GDP comes from agriculture, right? And it was thanks to one of the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, one of the Rockefellers that invested in Brazil in the 1920s or 30s, from the 20s through the 30s, and helped Brazil develop its agriculture, which represents more than a bit more than 70% than our GDP, our total GDP, you know. And I'm sure I wouldn't be able to find the right words, so I picked Khalil Gibran. Trees are poems. The earth rides upon the sky. I think that's how it's translated to English. Anyway, it's a little bit different in Portuguese. What do you think about what I brought here to discuss today? What do you think about my crazy dream? What do you think about the good news I've shared? It does look promising, doesn't it? That's why I have a little bit of a more positive mindset the last few days. Something is telling me that I'm going in the right way, you know. I'm following the right path. Something is telling me that this is it, you know. And I'm gonna follow it. I'm gonna follow it. It doesn't matter if I fail again. I've failed so many times in life already that I wouldn't be able to count my fingers and toes. Finally, I'm able to dream again. And that feels awesome. Thank you to all of the people that were involved in this process. If you were, you know you were. And yes, thanks to the viewers that supported me, tried to hire me, are trying to hire me. And yes, I'm very satisfied so far. And if you have a small channel, yes, you have to study the platform. There's a lot of bullshit that you have to filter out, but you will find your way too. You just gotta stick to your message. It needs an objective, you know. From the very first video I made, I knew what the purpose of it. There is a purpose. There is an underline in there. There is a subliminal message. Yes, I still get very low view counts. I still have a very low subscriber count, but I think I have quality. And that makes me so incredibly happy. Thank you. And one thing I forgot to mention is how much more expensive it is to reforest some place that has been degraded in comparison to just lighting a match up and throw it in the dry grass, right? Or pouring gasoline and throwing a match, or doing what they do here through construction debris, gardening debris, and then set it on fire. It's so much more expensive and complicated to put a value on what life produces. Do you know how complicated it is to predict? Because you can't measure every single tree in a forest to measure how much volume of wood they're going to produce, right? You can't measure their value like this, especially in native forests, which are much more complicated than planted forests, because every step you take is a new species, right? In a planted forest is mostly the same species. There are consortiated agroforestry and stuff like that, which I'm an expert too. But usually in planted forests it's only one species, right? A monoculture. So it's easier to predict, and they're all the same clone from the same matrix, right? And they will produce very similarly. So it's easier to predict the value of a planted forest than it is to predict the value of a native forest, because there's a lot of species, different species. So it's so much more complicated to try to estimate how much what life produces is worth. And besides all that, so it's just that the woods, they have the most important value that the forests have, that life has, is maintaining, right, our habitability on planet Earth, right? We depend on this for our planet to be habitable. Otherwise, it will just look like Mars. Okay, it's a bit of a stretch there, okay, but it's true. Without the environment well taken care of, well managed, there will be no habitability on planet Earth, as well as there is not habitability in Mars. And yeah, I have been putting myself out here, trying to speak an easier language than all of these complicated ways in which scientists try to talk about, and I was just praying for someone to understand this message. You know, I'm here, I'm capable, I'm capacitated for this. If you need someone like me, yeah, I'm here, you know. And it worked. And it just blows my mind that it worked, even before I got monetized. So thank you very much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.